Chapter 9. The next day Fogg and Aouda arrived at the port, but they could not find Passepartout. There they learned that the ship had gamed the night before. Suddenly Fix approached them, feigning surprise at finding them. "What a pleasure to see you again. Also, have they missed the boat?" "Yes, and also to my servant," Phileas answered very seriously. "Too bad, now we will have to wait 5 days until the next one comes out." Fix was glad to know that Passepartout was lost and to be able to detain Fogg for 5 more days at Hongking. Imagine his surprise when he heard that his plan was to go look for a small boat at the dock. Besides, he didn't seem very concerned about Passepartout. The detective did not let go of them, because if they got a boat he would have to follow it wherever it went. After a while of searching, Phileas finally managed to find a ship. The captain, named Bunsby, was not convinced to make such a long trip, as the weather was terrible in those days, but Fogg offered him a good amount of money and he accepted. His plan was to go very fast and without stopping to reach Shanghai before the ship going to Yokohama left. An hour later they left the port with the captain, some assistants, Phileas, Aouda and, of course, Detective Fix. As for Passepartout, Fogg was hopeful that he would catch up with them at some point. The next day, in the afternoon, Bunsby observed the landscape very worried. He sensed that a storm was approaching that could bring them problems. "Mr. Phileas, the weather will get worse and will undoubtedly be dangerous with the winds." "Where does the storm come from?" "From the south," answered the captain, a little confused. "Perfect, the wind will push us and we will go faster," said Fogg smiling. At night the storm and the wind were very strong. The ship moved like a sheet of paper on the sea. Everyone was worried, except Phileas, who he always looked calm. No one had been able to sleep, because everything moved as if they were inside a blender. In the afternoon of the next day everything was calmer and the passengers were finally able to eat and sleep a little. But later Bunsby ran to wake Fogg up. In the distance you could see a huge ship. It was the American ship that left Shanghai for Yokohama. "Let's make signals, let's launch a flare or something that will make them wait for us," Fogg said, without appearing distressed like the others. Then the captain went for the flare, which he threw into the sky. Chapter 10. Do you want to know what had happened to Passepartout? The night he fell asleep in Hong Kong a couple of men helped him wake up. The servant realized the time and without any more time to waste he ran to the ship, hoping that his master had found out about the ship's departure and was with Aouda on board. He barely managed to jump up before the Carnatic departed. During the trip Passepartout remembered what had happened and hoped to meet Fix to give him what he deserved, since he understood that he had set a trap for him. On the other hand, he was sad not to find his master nowhere. Now what he was worried about was that he would reach Yokohama and he did not have a pound to eat or travel in search of Phileas. For now, he could eat whatever he wanted on the boat, since that was already paid for, so he took the opportunity to fill his belly. Finally the Carnatic arrived in Yokohama and Passepartout began to walk the streets without enthusiasm. He was looking for something he could do to get money. The next day the servant was already very hungry, so he thought about singing in the streets some of the English and French songs that he knew. The problem was that the clothes he was wearing didn't make him look like a homeless man and maybe people wouldn't give him money. So he sold his clothes, bought something simpler and had money left over to eat something. While he was walking towards the port looking for work or a place to sing, he came across a sign that said, "Japanese Acrobatic Company. Last performances before leaving for the United States. Come see the famous Big Noses. USA. This is my chance," Passepartout shouted very excitedly. Then the servant went to the place of the great function and looked for the owner of the company. There he met Batacler, the boss. He immediately asked her for a job and explained that he needed to go with them to America. At first the man refused, but after a while he agreed to hire him for the Big Nose show, since one of their members had gotten sick the day before. That same night Passepartout would appear at the acrobatic event with the long noses without even having had the opportunity to rehearse, but it was necessary for him to do his job to travel with them. They came out on stage with spectacular clothes, wings on their backs and a long nose. The final act was a human pyramid under those noses. It was a great event that excited the entire public. All Passepartout had to do was put himself in his place. Everything was going very well, until suddenly, the pyramid collapsed. The most serious thing was that the servant was to blame, who left his place and ran towards the public, falling at the feet of a spectator, shouting, "My master! My love! It's you," Phileas asked without recognizing him. "It's me." "Okay boy, let's go to the ship right now," said the master, and they ran out of the place. However, outside they met the angry Battlecler, who demanded payment for the damages caused by his servant. Fogg promptly gave him a fair payment and they left there. They finally managed to get to the ship in time. Passepartout still had the big nose and wings that he had not been able to get rid of.